Ash, thanks for joining us. Obviously, both Chris and I know you from Accenture, but you've started a whole new journey. So tell us about it.
Thank you, Dale. So yes, from Accenture, I moved on to a contracting role, and then from a contracting role, moved to creating a startup focused around how to support employees with their well-being while working in the workplace, but also working remotely from home as well. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster. I left Accenture in July 2018, and then in September 2018, I founded OpenMind Wellbeing, which was all about how do we solve some of those problem statements workplaces have with delivering their wellbeing programs. I could go into so much detail about this, but I'll keep it brief. Essentially, we try and solve three main problems workplaces have with supporting their employees in their wellbeing programs. One, surprisingly, is around budget. The second one is around the time and resources it takes to administrate a wellbeing program. And that could be a whole raft of things, from awareness-based workshops and education to also community activities. How do we encourage more social interaction and human connection? To also one-to-ones, coaching, counselling type things. So we try and solve the question around the admin. The third question and challenge we try and solve is the impact it has on both the employees, but also the business. So what's the actual return on investment back to the business? Or what's the value of investment back to the employee? So our model is called CARE, and we build a digital platform which helps workplaces facilitate these challenges. We do this by connecting workplaces to local vetted wellbeing providers, administering the end-to-end, everything from the booking and scheduling to helping promote and market internally to a booking portal for employees and ongoing feedback loops. The third aspect is we measure and report on the impact, and we produce reports for the workplace on that impact. And finally, the E in CARE is evolve. We help the workplace use that data and that information to evolve their wellbeing program. And that's essentially what we do. And it's been a fun and interesting roller coaster the last year and a half.
Cheers, Ash. So what are the trends that you're seeing between workplaces with their attitudes with regards to wellbeing?
So it's interesting looking at the overall, both the UK and the global trends around wellbeing. If we start with the UK though, if we look at the last five or so years, wellbeing has only just started becoming a gender item in a lot of workplaces. 5 years ago, the conversation around what actual wellbeing meant very much surrounded mental health. And today, to a certain degree, it still talks about mental health. From 5 years to 3 years ago, the conversation continued around mental health and mental health first aid and mental health first aid programs. Following that, over the last 2 years, there's been the change in attitude where a lot of workplaces have encouraged mental health allies programs and mental health first aider programs within workplaces, both in big corporates, but also in SMEs, as well as in the freelance arena as well. But what we've seen is that hasn't had the lasting impact companies and people expected. And part of that reason is because it's not actually tackled the problem. It's raised awareness around mental health, which is really important to remove that stigma, but it hasn't driven and encouraged sustainable wellbeing practices and habits in workplaces and in individuals. So where we are now is that shift in terms of what does wellbeing mean. Wellbeing for us, and the way we talk about it, covers mental health, physical health, emotional well-being, as well as financial well-being and the social aspect of that as well. So we're now at a turning point where the realization for workplaces that well-being is so unique to each of us, and how do we support each of us in a gigantic workplace, an enterprise workplace, down to the sole trader. So this is where offerings are having to be tailored to workplaces, but how do you practically do that? So this is where what we're seeing now is a combination of initiatives which allow workplaces and individuals to access services. That could be a discount at a gym or a yoga studio or an online class to do something, moving on from the gym membership. The other option is, how do we encourage that group activity in the workplace? So if you might remember back to our Accenture days, we saw micro communities and interest groups pop up. And that's actually where we're seeing more workplaces go now today. because it's all about how do you create micro communities and sustainable change. And that sustainable change comes by empowering employees to lead it. So just in terms of the agenda item, if we look at the last 2 years, 2018, if we take a business and the community report, wellbeing was on the agenda of 4 in 10 workplaces. 2019, 5 in 10 workplaces. 5 weeks ago, coronavirus happened and started. It's pretty much on everyone's agenda now. It has to be, because we've all had to adapt and we're all working from home. So what's this meant today for a lot of workplaces? If we take the last 4 weeks, I think priority number one is how do we keep business going, business continuity, back to our service management days. The second aspect is how do we support our employees while they're working from home. A lot of them don't have ergonomics kits and the right environments to work from home. So what are the practical things workplaces can do? So over the last few weeks, we've been seeing workplaces do what they can within reason to support employees. I think over the last week or so, we've started seeing companies actually take a step back and start thinking about how do we better build programs to support their employees in this time of crisis, let's say. So that's kind of how it's changed over the last few years massively. And how the agenda changed. In terms of how we're responding to that, just because I think it's worth touching on here, is what we found is as workplaces all over the UK are still a bit confused in how they react and respond, and it's important not to do a knee-jerk reaction, just throw lots of things to a workplace, because at the end of the day, if you throw lots of content at employees or individuals, it's just going to confuse them. What solutions are impactful, beneficial, useful right now, and relevant right now? So off the back of that, we went out to our community of workplaces and said, you've got employees who are all now home-based, some are permanent, some are remote-based, some are contractors. How can we best support them? And part of that was, we don't know just yet. So we said, okay, let's just put on a complementary schedule. Let's just help people find and build routine into their day-to-day lives while they're working from home. Routine is so different to each of us, because some individuals will be at homes with families, with kids running around and now homeschooling and all sorts of things going on. Some individuals will be in a flat share where they don't have a dining table, where their desk is either the bed or the sofa. So it's how do you respond and react to that? So for us, it was very much how can we just start building routine and give individuals, whether employees in big enterprises or sole traders or individuals in the public, access to some resources to start with.
Thanks, Ash. As you can see, I'm in my dining room. Obviously, as you know, most of our community of consultants are independent consultants. Is there any advice or anything they can do that you would recommend? Absolutely.
And this is where, having had the opportunity to see and listen to what Workplace is doing, what fellow other wellbeing practitioners are offering and suggesting, I can kind of boil it down to three or four key statements. One is around being really disciplined around your own time and your own space. So as part of that, build routines into your day-to-day. Be really strict with your working hours in terms of setting clear expectations of when the day starts and when the day ends. And even if that is a ritual of just putting the laptop away or clearing your dining table, that ritual will start helping create boundaries where boundaries are really murky at the moment. I would say, as part of that point, remember to hydrate and eat. The amount of people I've spoken to where employees in workplaces where some of that's just gone out the window. The second one is all around social interaction. We are meant to be socially distancing ourselves right now, but social interaction is so important. It's a fundamental trait of being human. So do schedule time with other consultants or even clients, and just remember to be kind to each other and to arrange some informal coffee breaks or meetings, or do practice remote acts of kindness. As part of that, if you have the opportunity to use video, do. We've seen it over the last few weeks where for a lot of workplaces, video has been foreign to them, but having your video on makes a big difference. And the final point I would say is just be creative in terms of trying new things that can support your own well-being while you're working at home. While you can't go to the gym or do a run necessarily or meet up with friends for dinner, there's loads of support and resources out there, both on Google, on our website, and a number of other sources, which can help you engage and find things to build those routines and habits. I just want to end with one thing, something I read from a LinkedIn post yesterday, and that was, treat your fridge like the office vending machine. Mainly, it made me smile because since I've been at home, I just end up constantly eating and grazing all day. So every time you go to the fridge, just think about how much money you'd be spending if that was your office vending machine.
Yeah.
Especially if we don't have the opportunity to walk as much or do as much exercise. To be really conscious of, actually, the fridge is only 2 meters away from me right now. How much would I be spending if that was my office vending machine?
So Ash, how can our community find out more or get in touch?
We're currently offering a complimentary schedule of wellness activities throughout the week. That can be found on our website, which is openmindwellbeing.com. And it's just right at the top of the page. But in terms of some of the activities, it's everything from daily meditations to chair yoga to home workouts. This week, we've also got 2 special sessions surrounding a virtual gong bath and a virtual choir. Again, how can we connect? And we're trying different ways to bring people together, as well-being is so unique to each of us. And music and singing will relate and resonate with a number of individuals.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you both for your time today.
Thanks, Ash.
Thanks for joining us.